Hello, Andrew Cooksey here. We are going to inspect or measure the X dimension on this 2001 KTM 200 engine. So the very first thing we do is we get the service manual out and we see what it's supposed to be. So the service manual tells you that for up to 2002 that the X dimension is supposed to be 0.55 millimeters or 22 thousandths of an inch, and that means that the piston's supposed to come up at top dead center and be 22 thousandths below that surface. So we have two ways we're going to go about this. We've got my homemade gauge that has a dial indicator there, and we have Jbone's very simple gauge, which works very well. I've actually used one of these before, but this is my new one. And so let's get started. We'll zoom in here a little bit. So on my gauge, that surface frets right there on that counter bore. And so I need to make sure that it's zeroed, and so I put it on a flat surface and I'm going to turn the dial indicator such that it's pointing at 0. Alright, so now we're going to install it. Got a couple of head bolts installed in here. There we go. That ought to do it. And let's see what we get. Okay, so piston's coming up, and there it stopped. So you can see it's 25 thousandths from 0. So that says that X is 25 thousandths. We'll do it again, coming up, and about 25 thousandths from the piston being flush with the counter bore. So you would say that X equals minus 25 thousandths. And this happens to have a 0.75 millimeter base gasket in it. So now we're going to use Jbone's tool. But since we know it's supposed to be 22 thousandths below this surface, I'm going to take this 22 thousandths feeler gauge and just kind of scotch tape it on it right here. There we go. I'm going to install it. And so when I get it installed and I rotate the flywheel, which brings the piston up, is it going to touch? No sir, it's not going to touch. I have confidence it's not going to touch because it's going to be, what, about 3 thousandths below that 22 thousandths feeler gauge that I put in there. So I can take a 2 thousandths feeler gauge, put it in here, doesn't touch. 2.5 thousandths feeler gauge, put it in there, doesn't touch. 3 thousandths feeler gauge, we ought to be getting pretty close. Yeah, a little bit tight. 4 thousandths feeler gauge. There we go. So the 4 thousandths is tight. So this gauge says that we're about 26 thousandths X dimension, which would be that 22 plus the 4, and this gauge says about 25 thousandths. So it's two different ways to measure the X dimension, and they both work.